Listening to The Pump Fake.
In what was the most improbable comeback in recent NFL history, in any sort of sport that I can recall watching, the Buffalo Bills overcame a 15-point fourth quarter deficit and defeated the Baltimore Ravens 41-40. I don't even know what to say. I just knew I had to come on here and just talk. So that's why I'm here. So if you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're watching, thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit. It is almost 1 a.m. Eastern. I've got sweat on my forehead, beading, half of it from watching the final 4 minutes of that game. I think the other half of it is from Domino's cheesy bread. I'm trying to find the words. I really am, to compartmentalize what we just saw and the performance that we saw from Josh Allen and what he did on the team's final 3 drives, but in the fourth quarter as a whole. So let's start there. Well, let's start with the bad, because there's a lot of bad with the Bills and how they performed in this game as a whole. Over 230 yards rushing for the Ravens, pretty similar to how things went last year in this matchup on Sunday night when the Ravens just ran all over the Bills. It was done, midway through the first half. And it looked like it was going to be done when it was 40-25. Derrick Henry had another touchdown run. And it looked like this thing was put to bed. And then Josh throws a touchdown to Keon Coleman. All right, it's back to within one possession, whatever. Ed Oliver, who, by the way, Ed Oliver had the game of his life tonight. Multiple big plays, had a sack, multiple tackles for loss. He punches the ball away from Derrick Henry. It's recovered by Buffalo, which leads to an Allen touchdown run. They fail a 2-point conversion, which was a theme of the night, apparently, for Buffalo. And then the Bills get a stop. They force Baltimore to go 3 and out. And immediately, I say, go for it. Why would you not go for it? Because if you give the ball back to Buffalo, it's probably game. Doesn't matter if they don't have any timeouts. They got 1:26 to go. If you give the ball back to Buffalo, you're conceding victory. And with the way that Lamar, the way that Derrick Henry were running the ball all night, it made no sense for them to not go for it. It would have been, 4th and 2? They were averaging almost 10 yards a play or 10 yards a run. I don't know what their average yards per play at that time were, but they were running at will against the Bills defense. I didn't understand why they didn't line up and say, here comes Lamar, here comes Derrick Henry. If you stop us, tip our cap, you'll probably win this game. But we're not going to go. We're not just going to willingly give the ball back to Josh Allen. And they did. And then on that drive alone, Josh hits Joshua Palmer for a long completion on what was a rope of a throw. Hits Keon Coleman for a long completion, who almost gets into the end zone. They sit on it for 3 plays. Matt Prater kicks his 3rd field goal of the game, and he'll never have to pay for a meal in Buffalo again to complete what was quite literally a historic comeback for Buffalo. They hadn't come back from a 15-point deficit in the fourth quarter since 1967 against the Jets. And teams who had scored 40 points and had over 230 yards rushing prior to this game were 277-0. They are now 277-1, with Baltimore losing. And I know that so many people are going to get pissy about this and whatever. I don't care. There is no debate on who the better quarterback is. It's Josh Allen It's been Josh Allen. It will continue to be Josh Allen. He's now beaten Lamar Jackson more times than he's lost to him. He's 2-0 against him in the playoffs, and he just completed one of the more improbable comebacks in NFL history with a roster that is far inferior to that of Baltimore, and came through and got the job done. There's a reason he won MVP, and it's because when you look at what Baltimore and Lamar have at his disposal compared to what Josh has around him, I mean, the Ravens had, 8 All-Pros last year? You know how many the Bills had? Josh Allen. It's not a debate. Sure, they're both great. Absolutely, Lamar's great. But one's better, and it's 17. And if you needed any more proof of that, tonight was your proof. And look, I picked Baltimore to win this game simply because of their roster. And when it's 40-25, it looked like, all right, yeah, this could probably be over. The Bills punted down 15. I was like, all right, yeah, this is done. And then Josh Allen goes for 250 and 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, the most yards he's ever had in one quarter in his career. And cements himself as minimum the number 2 quarterback in the NFL. Right now, he's the best player in the world. Can't be the greatest. That's still going to be Mahomes until somebody beats him in the postseason. But right now, on this very second, he's the best player on planet Earth. And if there's going to be a time where they finally get this monkey off their back, one would think it would be this year. And one would think that this would be a great time to start it. But my goodness, what a game. What a comeback. And what just a back and forth duel to close out the Sunday slate of week 1 for the 2025 season. Goodness gracious. And this is only week 1. We've got 17 more weeks of this plus playoffs. What a time to be alive. Sean McDermott took a little bit of a swipe at the Baltimore radio personality last year who called Buffalo the city of losers. He is in his post-game presser. He's like, yeah, here in Buffalo, the city of winners. So I liked that. Joey Bosa said it's the happiest he's ever been after a win. Which, granted, being with the Chargers, Joey Bosa hasn't been part of many huge wins. But still, very cool to hear him say that about his new team. But an absolutely crazy win for Buffalo. And a great way to cap off what was a very exciting Sunday around the NFL. And we'll be back on the Pump Fake tomorrow to recap it all. We'll go through every single game. And Tyler Dunn of Go Long will be joining me to discuss his 3-part series on the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams and all the dysfunction that was going on behind the scenes in 2024. So that would be a lot of fun. So be sure, if you're watching this, to subscribe to the channel and listen to the Pump Fake wherever you get your podcasts. Looking forward to being back in season to recap every game from the week 1 Sunday slate and get you ready for Monday Night Football. Again, I just wanted to hop on here and just talk for a few minutes about the game that we just saw. So much going on, like in those final 4 minutes watching it. Just needed to, hop on and say some things. So appreciate everybody for tuning in, whether you being on YouTube or Twitter or anything like that. Just one of the craziest endings to a game I've ever seen. One of the craziest endings to a game any of us have probably ever seen. And Josh Allen really solidifying himself as the unquestioned, at minimum, number 2 quarterback in the NFL behind Mahomes. But right now, this very second, he's not greater than Mahomes. The greatness versus talent. I know it's kind of an overdrawn thing, an overdone thing, but I'm going to do it here. So stick with me. Until he beats Mahomes or until he gets a Super Bowl, it's hard. You can't really make the argument that he's greater than Mahomes. Talent-wise, though, right now, this very second, Josh Allen is the best player on planet Earth. And if you needed any other examples or any other proof that he's better than number 8 in Baltimore, tonight was your proof. And there's still going to be plenty of people that, if and when these two face off once again in the postseason, I would bet the vast majority of folks will pick Baltimore to win that game. And it doesn't matter. It won't matter, if Buffalo beats them 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. There's always going to be folks who pick the Ravens. There's always going to be people who say Lamar is better than Josh. Why? I don't know. But tonight, he really took his flag and slammed it into the ground and at minimum solidified himself as the number 2 guy in the NFL. But right now, right this second, there's not a player who's playing better on this planet than him. So, like I said, we'll be back tomorrow for a full episode of the Pump Fake, recapping everything that happened in the Sunday slate of games. Tyler Dunn will join me from Go Long to talk about his 3-part series, an incredible series. If you haven't read it yet, go subscribe to Go Long. Great Substack ran by one of the very best in the business, Tyler Dunn, to talk about his 3-part series on the Chicago Bears and their dysfunction from 2024. A lot of just really good stuff, really a big peek behind the curtains of everything that went wrong with the Bears last year. And, frankly speaking, it doesn't paint Caleb Williams in a great light. So we're going to talk about a lot of that. Looking forward to it. So be sure to subscribe to this channel and be sure to follow along with the Pump Fake wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll be back in full swing tomorrow to recap week 1. Thank you guys so much for listening to me rant about a game real quick. And I hope to see you very soon on the Pump Fake.